So Rob, you have two brand new projects, and I want to talk about both of these projects. The first one is one that I saw on Mastodon that I didn't even know you were working on, which is custom Finder icons for the sidebar. What exactly? I guess this was a bit of a journey because doing this is really not so easy these days.
Yeah, so this had happened, and I think that this has been the case for years and years, that if you name a folder developer in the root in your user folder, that will get a little hammer icon in the sidebar when you add it. I was setting up my new MacBook, and I thought, well, normally I just have sites, but I thought, no, let me use the special icon, because, why not? It's there. It makes no odds to me what the folder's called. And then, again, because I was on a new laptop, I was cleaning up like my desktop and my downloads folder, because there was a whole lot of nonsense in there. And I thought, let me move some folders about and make this, I can have a screenshots folder in the desktop folder, so it's a bit more organized. And then I kind of realized, I was like, oh, I can't actually have nice icons for these. So off I went to one of the Slacks that I'm in, and it's filled with many designers, people burdened with design knowledge that are insistent on changing icons all the time and things like that. And I knew these guys were into that. And I just sort of posted a fairly innocuous message like, can we change the sidebar icons? Like, is that a thing? And they came across this one Reddit post where this guy had outlined a bunch of steps to do in Xcode, and then you could dump some PNGs in, and maybe it would work. And I thought, okay, well, let me try it. I couldn't get it working with the PNGs. That just wasn't going to happen. I don't know whether it was because it was old or whatever. And then one of the guys in there, Keir, said to me, try this, and he sent me some little screenshot and a link to some of the Apple docs. And it turns out you can use an SF symbol from Apple's icon set. So I tried that, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got it working. This is amazing. How do I do this for a second folder? And the issue with this is, to do a custom sidebar icon, you have to run a Finder sync extension, which is the kind of thing that Dropbox do. Right. So it is an app that runs in Finder, essentially. So it has, you can have a whole bunch of stuff like things in the context menus, you can have syncing icons on files, and one of the things you can do is the sidebar icon. So I basically built a project that does it for one folder, and then wrote a script so that if you or somebody else wanted to do this over multiple folders, you have to run this script and it replaces a bunch of stuff in the files. So for every single folder, you have to run a separate app. So I have these running on login, and I have 4 or 5 of these.
Yeah, they're tiny. My favorite. They're tiny, tiny little apps, though. So it's not like it's using a lot of resources or anything, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm not even sure they're actually quote unquote running. I think they basically just start.
Right. That's
it installs the Finder extension, and then that's it. It's working.
Right. Exactly. It's like a script running on login, and then it just kind of sticks there until you reboot, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think my favorite one is the waveform that I've got for Ruminate, because it's very similar to our logo.
Oh yeah. I saw that in your screenshot. That looked really nice.
Yeah. So, and I do have some other ideas. I've got some notes about how I can maybe automate this a bit nicely for people. But yeah, this is my first project. This was as popular as I thought it was going to be. This is the kind of stuff people love. Just messing about with things that we're not supposed to be changing.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think it's really cool. And the thing is that SF symbols now, there are so many of them that you can really find something for everything that you want here, I think. I know I saw you helping some people on Mastodon with some problems people had. I guess it's not an entirely foolproof system, because I don't think it's really the intended use of these kinds of apps, but it works, and I don't think it's something anybody should be worried about messing up their system, really.
No, definitely not, because if I go into where I keep these apps in my applications folder, if I delete one, the icon just disappears and it goes back to default.
Right.
There is no code running on this. Literally all it is, there's 2 bits of data. One is, what symbol do you want? and the second bit of data is which folder do you want to change.
Right.
So there's really no risk of breaking anything, and it turns out this actually works better in Sonoma. You can't drop a file onto these custom sidebar folders in whatever the current version is, Ventura, but in Sonoma you can. So for once, things are actually getting better with the upgraded version, not worse.
Nice. So that's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, I've been running Sonoma. It's going pretty well so far. I'd say on par. I guess it's probably the most stable beta I've used in the last 5 years on the Mac. It's really worth doing if you see any features that you're really into, I think.
Yeah, I've been tempted because you're not the first person to tell me that it's pretty stable, but I think I will hold out. I can last. I can make it till whenever it's going to be, September, October time, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest hassle for me is that I'm recording this on a MacBook Air while looking at my Mac Studio, which is connected to the Studio Display, because Rogue Amoeba apps, because they're so low level, they never work, or at least they don't. They basically don't allow you to run them on betas, and they will be updated, and they are always updated within a few days of the official release. But it does require me to use a separate Mac to do my recording. Other than that, I haven't had a problem with any of my apps. I mean, I've seen weirdness in some of the system stuff, some of the system apps, but it's not like I've had a restart or a crash or a kernel panic or anything like that. It's literally been, a couple of apps have quit once in a while, and maybe they've had some weird behaviors or UI glitches or something like that. But I haven't lost any data or had any real problems with it. So yeah, it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you're looking for, isn't it? As long as things aren't breaking too much and you can still get what you need to get done.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. I mean, the thing that I think that people ought to keep in mind, and this will be my pitch for breaking with conventional wisdom, is that there's this conventional wisdom that you shouldn't even upgrade to a new full release of Mac OS until it gets to 0.2 or 0.3 or something like that. And I think that there was a reason for that back in the OS 10 days, that was a legitimate approach to beta software or new releases, because there were some pretty tough and rough OS 10 releases with Tiger and some of the other ones, and that's not really the case anymore. I mean, when people say, I always do my iPad and my iPhone, but I would never do my Mac until at least 0.2 or 0.3, I really don't feel like there's any there are two things going on there. One, that's just somebody saying that you can't do real work with an iPad or an iPhone, that the Mac is somehow special, which personally I don't feel is the case, because they're all computers and you can get work done with all of them. But they're also far more stable than they used to be. So I'm a big advocate of, if you see features you like, if you're willing to be tolerant of some inconveniences in this form of bugs, and you have some kind of plan B, which is either a good backup or a second Mac, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. I'm glad you reminded me about Rogue Amoeba stuff, though, so I won't be upgrading, because I just have the one computer.
Right.
So I won't be doing that. Otherwise I'm going to be panicking trying to record podcasts.
Yeah, and for me, that is a bit of a pain, only because on the one hand, I would love to just put Sonoma on my laptop, because then I can work. I can be using the OS that I'm writing about, whether I'm at my desk, sitting outside, wherever I happen to be, at a coffee shop, whatever it is. With putting it on my Mac Studio, that means that my summer of working on the Mac OS review is spent largely at my desk. I actually spend more time sitting at a desk in the summertime than any other time of the year, which is kind of sad, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Well, you briefly mentioned recording, and I mentioned podcasts.
You have a new podcast with a whole nother person who I think his name is Dave Darns, who's a great guy.
Yeah, and he was one-time co-host of Ruminate, if you remember. I checked. This was episode 22.
I forgot about that. David Darns was filled in for me. That's great.
He did, yeah. I don't. I mean, at this point, that was a long time ago. I don't remember why. But yeah, so he filled in on Ruminate, and now me and him have got a podcast about the Fast and Furious cinematic universe.
Yeah, which, I mean, so much for Marvel. I mean, Marvel, Marvel. I mean, they think they got a thing going on. The Fast and Furious is where it's really at, for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, this came about because generally, if I'm talking to anybody about the Fast and Furious movies, it's Dave.
Sure.
Because we both, despite how ridiculous these movies are, we both just love them and enjoy them. And I can't remember, there was a conversation on Mastodon or not, and then I just ended up messaging him and said, look, we need to do a podcast because it's limited. It's 12, maybe 13 episodes, and then I think there's still more movies coming out even after next year's one. So we'll keep the site up and I guess record new episodes when new movies come out.
Are we on 10? Is that where we are right now?
10 of the main series plus one spin-off.
Okay.
So
because I think 10 is either available to stream now or about to be available to stream. I saw an ad for it somewhere recently, and I got to get caught up.
Yeah, this is one of those frustrating things that it is available, I believe, in the US to purchase, but not in the UK.
Got it.
So, me and Dave were actually going to meet up and go and see Fast 10, but with the baby and everything, that just didn't work out. So we've got a plan to go and see next year's one together in person.
That's good.
So maybe we'll do a live recording. Afterwards we'll go and sit in a Nando's or go get a burger and just record the episode straight after.
Excellent. I love your URL, which is wegot.family. I think that is the only good .family URL I have ever seen, or that is any good. I mean, not is it the only good one, it's the only one I think I have ever seen, Rob.
Yeah, I think I might have seen like one person who maybe had this for what I assume is its intended purpose, their family. .family. Right. But I totally forgot this was even a TLD that I could buy. And then we kind of came up with the name for the show, and I was like, let me see what's available. And I just typed in "We Got Family," and this was what came up first. And I was like, yeah, that'll do. That's perfect.
Well, that's good. Well, so far you have kind of an introductory episode out, right? It's like 7 minutes long or so. But,
yes.
What's going to be kind of like your schedule and plan going forward?
Yeah, so the plan is that the first episode will probably come out on Monday, so about a week from today. And then we're going to go for sort of every 2 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Obviously, we're just going to do an episode per movie. By popular demand, it's on Spotify. As an extension, Ruminate is now on Spotify as well.
Good. Thank goodness. Oh, welcome, Spotify fans, to your very first episode of Ruminate. I will tell you, Rob, I haven't looked in probably 2 years, but we put app stories on there, and the audience is vanishingly small.
Yes, I put We Got Family on Spotify for one person that I work with, because that's how they listen to podcasts.
All right, well, you're a good coworker, because literally there's so few people listening to the Mac Stories podcast over there that it's not even worth my time to open the URL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I like your artwork. Your website's really cool. It's really nice. You previewed that for me last time we recorded.
I did, yeah. I'd been working on the artwork and the site and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so Ruminate's on Spotify now, if that's what you're into.
All right.
And yeah, we got .family if you're into Fast and Furious and want to hear more of my voice.
Yeah, and Rob has all the good links there for Overcast and Castro and Pocket Casts and Apple Podcasts and all the places you find your favorite shows, as they like to say on the internet.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you saw my introductory post, but
I did.
Well, I don't even know where I put it, but I said something like "wherever you get your podcasts," which is always the most ridiculous thing to say, but
it is ridiculous, but it's what everybody says. It's very funny. I appreciated your hype machine spinning up, because I am the keeper of the hype machine at times at Mac Stories, and I know what it's like announcing things and getting the word out. So it's hopefully you guys will get a lot of listeners. I'm definitely going to be subscribing and listening myself. So good to know it'll be Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard it here first. That's exclusive. Ruminate exclusive.
All right. You know what we should do? We should talk about another family-friendly topic, which is Threads. No. Is that a good segue?
That was incredible. I think that's the best one we've ever done.
Yeah. Meta, the evil empire behind Facebook, is starting a Twitter competitor, which is essentially like, as from the little I've seen about it, it looks an awful lot like Instagram direct messages turned into its own app. Mm-hmm. Is that about right?
Yeah, that certainly seems what it is. I mean, we really don't have a lot of information beyond... I mean, I'm on the website and there's a weird countdown and a swirly logo in the middle. And as you say, we've seen a few screenshots from the App Store listings. I assume it has been confirmed that this is like ActivityPub compatible. I'm not sure.
Well,
I feel like that's what people are talking about, but I haven't actually seen any sort of official confirmation of that.
So there's been talk about that, and I can't remember if the talk about that came from rumors, leaks, or what, because people have been talking about Meta working on this for quite a while. There was something on I think it was Google Central yesterday that said that it doesn't look like the ActivityPub integration will be there first day. So you can, if you're on Mastodon, you can rest easy for a little while that the Threads people aren't going to be choking up your server. But yeah, that's my understanding, is it's not going to be there day one. At least that's because what the Google Central people did is apparently the Android app showed up last Saturday, I think, for a few hours. They actually were able to grab a copy and look at the code and see some of the help files and FAQs and things like that, and got a sense for what the features are. I can send you a link and put in the show notes, but yeah, get a sense for the features and what's going to be there. And their takeaway from it was that there wasn't going to be ActivityPub day one. Yesterday evening, my time, it showed up on the Apple App Store as a pre-order. I mean, it's one of those weird things where you pre-order something that's free, which I think is kind of odd, but it is what it is. I mean, essentially you click the button and it'll just show up on your phone the next day, whenever it's going to launch. And that launch date, at least on Apple devices, is July 6th. So, and I think that there's a web page too where there's a countdown clock that Meta has done to get the hype going. You know about that, Rob. I mean, you've just been through this yourself. You got to get, Mark Zuckerberg. He's looking over. He's checking what's going on at WeGot.family. He's saying, look, we need a website. We need a countdown clock. We need to get we need to get Threads.family. We need to get that domain before Rob gets his hands on it, and go from there. But yeah, it's coming. It's coming, and I don't know. A lot of people are very upset about it. I mean, as you can imagine, it's Meta, and so when you look at the privacy disclosures in the App Store listing, they are saying that they are going to potentially be using a lot of your data. I think it's a whole separate conversation about those what they call those privacy nutrition labels, which I don't think actually do a lot of good, because I think if you're a conservative company, you're going to put as many of those in there as you possibly can, because most people aren't going to look at them anyway. But then there's a subset of people that'll be really scared because it'll say things like, "Oh, we're tracking your finances," which is one of the things, one of the boxes you check when you have to give a credit card to buy something. You know what I mean? There's stuff in there that's like, well, yeah, it sounds scary in the label, but when you think about what the app is, and you might want to check in a place, and it's going to use it's not like it's stalking you as much as it is letting you use location if you choose to use location. But I mean, now people are probably going to be upset with me for poo-pooing Facebook's privacy violations, which are serious. And I am very skeptical about this app, Rob. I'm very skeptical that, one, it'll be any good, and two, that it will be used in a responsible way by the company that is putting it out. But I'm willing to give it a chance and check it out. But that's partly because part of what I do is just try new things and try new apps.
Well, I mean, in this instance, you can try it. I can try it. Nobody else can try it. This is not being launched in the EU. as of right now.
Yeah,
this is sort of late breaking. This I saw this right before we started recording.
Yep. Somebody said it to
Ben.
me.
Yeah, so it's according to this, it certainly seems like basically the EU's privacy rules, which I guess don't apply to the UK anymore because Brexit. Thanks for that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not launching in the EU, so actually, it's US and UK.
I wonder if it's a GDPR thing and where the data is stored and all that, because that's one of the big,
absolutely.
That's one of the big hammers that the EU has. If they want to use it, they don't. I mean, I think the reality is that an awful lot of EU data is stored outside of the EU, but it's only the likes of Facebook, Google, Amazon, and other big companies that the EU wants to, come down on, where that actually gets enforced. I don't think that gets enforced by small companies, for instance, but that's another.
No, clearly the EU want to make an example out of, as you say, Twitter or Facebook or Google, whoever it is.
Right.
They want to make an example out of the big companies because
they're
they
the
kind
biggest
of throw their weight around and they can do whatever they want, really,
Right.
for the most part.
Well, and they have the biggest impact. So, I mean, look, if you're the EU, if you're a government body, whether you're based in the EU or somewhere else, you're going to pick your targets by where the most people are affected, and it's going to be by somebody like Meta, because really what Threads is it's going to allow you to use your Instagram login as your handle in Threads, and so instantaneously it's going to be a big service because a lot of people use Instagram already.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've pre-ordered it. As if it runs out.
I did too.
I want to make sure I get it before the App Store runs out of stock.
You wanted to get in the queue. I got in the queue too. No,
yeah.
What is it about Ireland? Why does Ireland get to make these decisions for the rest of the EU? Why are they the special digital enforcers in the EU? I love Ireland. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have a kid who lives in Ireland, but I always think it's funny. It's like the headline that you send me is from Ireland, and I think it's the Irish DPC who's really upset.
Yeah. I think
that's the Data Protection Commission.
I mean, I'm probably speaking way out of what I know about, but I get the impression Ireland is fairly well regarded within the EU, just in general. So I think this is why a lot of this stuff sort of comes from them initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's good.
What's not to like about Ireland? They're friendly, they're nice people. I don't think anybody particularly dislikes them as a country. So I think they. This was kind of funny to see because I had not 5 minutes before added Threads to the notes and added a link, and then I saw this from Ben and I was like, all right, okay, so it's literally 2 countries getting this and that's it.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not too. I'm interested in Threads, but I'm not that. I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to be. I mean, especially since they're not even launching with ActivityPub integration. I think the concern, I suppose, is that Facebook will come in, throw their weight around, and essentially marginalize Mastodon in particular, which, I mean, the Fediverse is much more than Mastodon, but Mastodon is probably the biggest player in the Fediverse with ActivityPub. And so people usually talk about them in the same breath. And I think this has the potential for the old Microsoft play of embrace, extend, extinguish, where Threads could potentially become so popular that nobody uses Mastodon anymore and Mastodon just goes away. I honestly don't think that that's likely, but I think that that's part of the concern people have.
Yeah, definitely, and I think there are a lot of people. Like, I've never used Twitter to interact with my friends, and by friends I mean like real life friends that I know from work, from wherever. The kind of people that I would see on Facebook. Those people have never, or very, very rarely, used Twitter.
Right.
Those people aren't suddenly going to start appearing on Mastodon. They're not going to start using PixelFed to post their photos.
No.
So, from my point of view, like, whatever. Even if Threads does get really big, I don't think the people that I'm already talking to, interacting with on Mastodon, are suddenly going to leave for Threads. Like, I just don't. I feel like the Venn diagram of the people that want to use these two things, there's not a lot of overlap there. It is what it is. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I would download it. I'll take a look at it. If for no other reason than I'm interested in these kind of things.
But same here.
I don't think there's any cause for concern and panic right now.
Right, and it's one of those things. It's like if you are concerned about Meta's privacy issues, and I think people should be. I think people should be very cautious with anything that Meta puts out. That then don't use it. I mean, like I'm going to use it, but I'm going to use it in kind of a, this is a science experiment kind of way. I mean, I'm not going to use it any more than I use Instagram in terms of providing personal information. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Really, to me, I'm more interested in it from a technical standpoint, is like what happens when Meta turns on the activity pub feed and all these people, because look, there's a lot of people who don't like, I would say that there are a lot of people in kind of our general Apple community who don't use Facebook and don't trust Facebook, but they do use Instagram, some of them very heavily. And so I do think that there is a potential here for a lot of connections to be made between Threads and Mastodon in general, various Mastodon instances, especially the big ones like Mastodon.social. And what is that going to do from a technical standpoint to those servers once all of that additional data potentially is going to be flowing across the Fediverse? I mean, it has strained at times under the weight of people leaving Twitter, but this is a little different because it's not only people, it's a whole new category potentially of people coming onto the Fediverse for the very first time, which I think is kind of, from a technical standpoint, I find super interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of exciting. Like as I say, like you, I don't really care for Meta or Facebook or Instagram to some extent. I like the product, but it's owned by Facebook, so I don't really use it. But I'm of the opinion that any new thing that is part of ActivityPub or that just the Fediverse in general is probably good for everybody in the long term. Maybe short term, as you say, we might see some strain on some servers and stuff like that. But if it introduces people to the idea that, oh, by the way, actually, you don't need to use Threads. You can just transfer your account or redirect your account and move to, I don't know, a gaming instance or a programming instance or a general purpose instance. Like, you can do whatever you want. And if it introduces people to those concepts, maybe more people will use Mastodon or, all of the other software that I'm completely blanking on right now, but you get my point.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, and one that I think more Mastodon people who are on Mastodon and running servers ought to take to heart, because from what I've seen an awful lot of defensiveness on the part of people who are using Mastodon, that maybe we should close our server to these people and not allow Threads to interact with our servers. Whereas I think what you're saying is that this could also be viewed as an opportunity. I mean, maybe Threads is the gateway drug to something a little less intrusive into your privacy and a little more open and and easier that way. And I think that's a possibility the way it works out. I mean, people, once they're on and they see what other people are using and where people, and that they're, I'm interacting with this person from Mastodon.social or whatever. Maybe they decide, I'd rather just get off of Facebook's thing and do my own thing and maybe even spin up my own server. I mean, most people aren't going to do that, but there are a lot of servers that aren't even as big as social that people can join, and that's a good thing. I mean, I'm kind of against just like saying just because it's Facebook we're going to cut them off. I mean, I know we're not going to cut them off on the MacStory server, but it's but there's no love lost between any of us, I think, on our team about Facebook, but it just feels wrong to kind of like cut things off before you see exactly what it is and how it operates. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a little naive, but I like to give them, even Facebook gets a little bit of a benefit of the doubt from me.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And I think, well, by the next time we record, because the app is out in 2 days.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I have egg on my face and if it's all been a huge flaming dumpster fire disaster. And I'm like, yep, well, that was John being optimistic, and maybe he shouldn't have been. But I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. So that's my final word for the day.
There we go. Let's end it there then.
All right, Rob. I will talk to you in a couple of weeks.